Hello friends, it's Nancy with Astrology and Angel Mediums. I'm still getting over a cold, so I'm going to sound a little bit hoarse and a little bit scratchy. I'm here today with another pick a pile reading. Hopefully you feel drawn to a specific pile. So this is your opportunity to choose whatever pile you feel drawn to, and whenever you're ready, go check out the corresponding timestamps for those specific readings. So this is pile 1, pile 2, and then pile 3. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a good one. I hope that you're enjoying these readings as much as I love doing them. See you where your reading is. Hello, and thank you for joining me. Pile number 1. I hope that you are ready to see what messages I have in store for you. I've already pulled all of the cards that I think I want to use today. And let's see what kind of transpires for you guys today. So I did pull a couple oracle cards and then a few tarot cards. So let's start with the tarot cards first. So very first card we have is going to be the Explorer of Swords. So this is essentially the Knight of Swords. We have Temperance. We also have Justice. We have the Child of Wands reversed and the Four of Cups reversed. So looking at these cards, I would definitely say that maybe you have been having to get really clear on what you believe in, really trying to go after that sense of mental clarity while also being a little bit more decisive about some of the things that you've been willing to kind of fight for. When I think of the swords, I think that it's very much this kind of energy of like the mind and anxiety and the logical and the analytical and how we're communicating and the messages that we're putting out as well as what we're receiving. So with the Knight, I feel like it's very much this energy of really understanding what it is that we're trying to do and how we're trying to utilize that higher mind in a lot of ways in order to connect with the people around us or within our situation. Now, Temperance is a card that really says that we need to kind of find that divine harmony, that balance. It's really about kind of taking two different things that maybe don't always make as much sense and trying to transform it into something else, transform it into something new. Now, it is also a card of a lot of patience. And so with the Knight of Swords, I think that it's really kind of saying like maybe you are ready to kind of get out there, do certain things. And right now you're just having to kind of wait and see how these things are coming together and when you will actually get very clear on what it is that you're trying to do. Now, Justice is another card that, again, it kind of talks about that divine balance, that harmony. It's very much a card of like that justice in the sense of really understanding that our actions will always have a reaction. And we have to look and see at what is kind of rippling out from us at this current time and being very aware of that energy as well as what we're investing a lot of ourselves in. So I think with this Justice card, it's just essentially kind of saying your patience is going to play out and you have to be mindful that some things are just outside of our hands and we can't really control how things are going to be received or how things are going to kind of operate for us in different ways. Now, the Child of Wands reversed to me can just really talk about, it's the Page, right? So essentially it's almost saying like there's a little bit of a sense of inexperience, or maybe you have been feeling a little bit like you're ready to kind of move on from some of these experiences. You're ready for momentum and movement, but it hasn't just really been taking off the way that you thought it was going to. And so there is a little bit of this hesitation to kind of show up in this energy. Next to that, we have the Four of Cups reversed, which can just talk about maybe moving on from a sense of discontent or finally feeling like you're not really stuck in old patterns that don't really make sense for who you are moving forward. So I would definitely say that there is something kind of to be said for this energy at the present moment where you may feel like you were making some progress, or maybe you felt like a lot of the things that you were trying to progress on are not really moving quite the way that you had anticipated, or there's been some shifts and changes to like what it is that you really wanted within the situation, or maybe there is a sense of I don't really want to go through these things. And it's maybe an invitation to kind of reignite that personal passion within yourself and also kind of moving on from the things that maybe hadn't worked out the way that you had anticipated. And it's very much an invitation to kind of show up in new ways and see where the balance needs to be kind of brought back into your life, whether it's a lack of harmony in different things. And maybe that's why you've been having to kind of move back into this lesson of patience and being a little bit more mindful of those things. So we kind of talk about these beautiful oracle cards that I pulled for you. The very first one I want to talk about is this one. It just talks about pause. And I think it goes very well with this temperance energy of just like right now, you've done what you could. You've done what you needed to do. It's time to just kind of reflect and just kind of wait. Sometimes pausing can feel very uncomfortable, especially when we are in this like go, go, go and get it, kind of energy in so many different aspects of our lives that it can be a little bit challenging to kind of take that time out to just pause and be where we're at. And I think the other thing with pause is that it's an invitation to maybe take a step back and look at everything that has been accomplished here, as well as the things that maybe haven't really turned out the way that you thought they were going to. Next, I want to talk about trees, which is all about community. And I think with the Justice card and also, this discontent card kind of being reversed, where it's kind of saying like, there's been a lot of like relationship and different aspects here. There's little gnats here. I think it's more of just an invitation to kind of reach out. And with pausing, maybe you can really reflect on who is your community, who's around you, who's supporting you, who's showing up for you in different ways, and what is it that maybe you haven't really allowed yourself to have at this present time. So then we have patience and wait, which goes very well with the pause card. And so I think, again, it's almost just kind of saying like, maybe you're trying to push too hard on like what is going to happen. And so right now we're being kind of told it's not that time to kind of push forward. Maybe there's something that, even though I know right now, like we have nothing in retrograde, so it's very much this energy of like, I just need to hurry up and like get things done. I think that the big kind of lesson that I'm getting for like this year, especially even in my own personal life, is we have to just wait. We just have to be patient and not, do anything that makes us question what's going on with that. And then finally, we also have the Have Faith card, which is essentially kind of saying like, this is an opportunity for us to get very clear on what we need, what we believe in, as well as being very aware of where our faith lies at this time, whether it's within ourselves, whether it's within, whatever we're working with. I think it's very much a reminder that even if things don't always feel like they're going the way that we thought they were going to, by rebranding and rebuilding into that community, by pausing, by being patient, by recognizing our sense of faith and reconnecting to who we are, kind of reinstilling some of those different practices that have kept us in the clear, so to speak, in different ways. And I know that it's so hard to have like a sense of faith when things are not really going the way that you thought they were going to. And I think with the Have Faith card, it's just a reminder to kind of connect more to that energy. Finally, we have the Jealousy card, which can just be a reminder that we need to be very mindful of the energy that we are allowing and inviting in different areas of our lives. Now, this isn't to be like a fear-mongering sort of card. I think if anything, it's almost saying that be mindful of where your energy is going and how you're utilizing your energy at this time, whether that is, being envious of other people that are getting some momentum and some movement in different areas of their lives, or even being mindful of how other people are perceiving what is going on in your life. When I think of the energy of jealousy or envy, I think it's sometimes not even like malintentioned. I think that we just see something and we compare it to the information or the details that we have about what we're doing and what we're experiencing. And so it can be a very disruptive kind of energy. And so I think it's more of just a reminder of, cleansing, pausing in this energy of just like, where is this going? Who is this serving? How is this showing up for me? And I think all of these cards here, looking at the whole, is that obviously there's some things that, we're wanting to see some momentum and movement on, but we're just having to kind of wait at the current moment. And in this waiting, it doesn't mean that we don't do anything. We can pause and kind of reconnect to our community, much like trees, really connect in different ways so that things can kind of come back into balance and we can get a sense of things really moving in the right direction. Justice and jealousy, I feel, go very well hand in hand, where we have to kind of bring those things back into balance and have a sense of fairness. Now, with the Child of Wands reverse and the Four of Cups reverse, I feel like maybe there's some things that we had intention for ourselves that maybe are not working out the way that we thought they were going to, but that doesn't mean that things are not really going to move exactly where we need them to. And I think by having faith and also kind of remembering our sense of patience and having patience and waiting, basically, everything is going to come together. But the biggest thing to kind of be mindful of is our personal energy and not letting ourselves get distracted by what we see somebody else kind of experiencing or going through. So I hope that makes sense. Thank you so much for joining me. Pile number 1, as always, I appreciate your comments and your subscriptions and all of the other YouTube-y things. I hope you have a good one. Take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye. Hello, pile number 2. I'm so glad that you're here with me, and I really hope that this reading finds you well. I'm going to be talking about the cards that I pulled. So I already pulled everything, and I'm going to just start with the actual tarot cards that I pulled first, if they don't go flying everywhere. So the very first card I have is going to be the Hierophant. Then we have the 10 of Swords. Then I have the 3 of Swords. And we also have the 5 of Pentacles and Strength. So I think that you're kind of going through it right now, right? I think if I were to pick a pile, this probably would have been my pile. All right, so the very first thing I want to talk about is going to be the Hierophant. So the Hierophant is one of these cards that talks about like traditions, authority, governing agencies. It really focuses on the traditional and kind of like the things that we believe in a lot of ways. And so maybe there's been a little bit of this sense of having to learn and teach ourselves through the things that we believe in. And maybe there's been a little bit of a sense of growth, or maybe even a sense of things really shifting and changing with what it is that you think that you're capable of calling into your life at this time. Now, because this is a major card, I do think that it is kind of bringing a little bit of this energy of having to be very mindful of, sorry, there's construction outside, of what this means for you as an individual. So there is a little bit of this sense of having to be very aware of what things have you been hanging on to that no longer resonate with who you are and what you're trying to kind of bring into your life. Now, next up, we have the 10 of Swords. Now, to me, the 10 of Swords is definitely this kind of card that really talks about you've been through the worst of it, like everything that you thought could possibly go wrong has been going wrong. It can feel very much like you are completely over it. This is like all of your deepest and darkest fears and the issues that you didn't think were going to happen have kind of come to pass. And so there is a lot of this sense of things really just going wrong. And because of that, there is this sense of heartache or loss, or even a sense of sadness and isolation that is currently happening, where you kind of feel like there is so much that has happened and occurred that you're very much in like the higher mind. You're just very much stuck in like the thoughts of things not really working out the way that you had anticipated. So there is a little bit of this sense of really struggling with how to bring yourself back into connection with others. And maybe this is also why you're having a little bit of like this crisis of faith. Of course, there's a smudge of ashes. Maybe that's why you're having a little bit of a crisis of faith with what it is that you believe in, because of all of the hardships and difficulties that maybe you've had to experience on your own. Underneath that, we have the Five of Pentacles, which is a card of really feeling alone. And it's also a card of a lot of strife and conflict and challenges kind of coming to the surface, especially in your physical life. So maybe there's been issues going on with work. Maybe there's been issues with your physical body. Like I've been sick for like the last week now. It's really frustrating. But it's one of these things where it can feel, again, it's kind of mounting this energy of feeling like you've been trying to put in the hard yards. You've been trying to do all of the things that you need to do, and yet things are not really shifting. Things are not really changing. And so mentally, you're still in this kind of sense of feeling very betrayed by the different aspects that have not come together. And so I do feel like this is very much a set of cards that are kind of saying like this crisis of faith is what is allowing you to kind of really get clear on what you're willing to kind of move forward into. The thing with the Five of Pentacles is that it's usually one of these cards that kind of reflects our own hesitation to reach out and ask for help, to kind of see that we don't have to really do a lot of these things alone. And just because we have to go through certain experiences on our own, it doesn't mean that we have to isolate ourselves to the point to where we neglect to see the assistance that may be available to us in different ways. Now, strength finally is kind of here to kind of say, hey, as you're going through these things, you're recognizing that a lot of this is helping you grow. It's helping you change. It's helping you develop different aspects of yourself that maybe you have kind of forgotten in the journey, so to speak. And so there is this kind of sense of really getting clear on what you not just believe in, like the Hierophant, but also what your personal power is in a lot of ways. And so I think that this is kind of saying, because this is also the card of the year, it's almost saying like this year is trying to make you grow in some ways that are going to feel very uncomfortable. And much like the cactus, it's very much about recognizing that even in your harshest environments, you have everything that you need to thrive within. And I think that this is almost saying like in order for you to bloom, you have to look at what environment you're in and look at the resources that you already have instead of feeling like you're lacking in some way. And I think with that Five of Pentacles kind of shoving that energy into our faces, it's almost saying like you've been feeling like you have to rely and depend solely on yourself. And that's not what these lessons are kind of saying. It's almost saying like quit putting yourself out and not allowing yourself to kind of grow with the different relationships and connections around you. All right. So the very first card I'm going to talk about here out of these oracle cards that I pulled is going to be embrace uncertainty. So this is just telling you to I embrace uncertainty and greet the unknown with unwavering faith. I will admit this year has been extremely challenging in so many different ways. And I think a lot of us are really feeling it. A lot of us are feeling the sense of, I don't really know what comes next. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. And I think that this is almost saying we have to be okay with not knowing. I think as people, we have this like semblance of control without really understanding or knowing what's actually going to happen. And that is the one thing in life, is that change is constantly going to occur. And we really don't have a say in how things are going to change or how things are going to happen. The only thing we can control essentially in life is how we react to the things that are happening around us. And I think with embracing uncertainty, we're getting this sense of we just have to know who we are and how we're willing to show up in that energy to kind of move forward. Next to that, we have release and surrender. Maybe you need to stop trying to control everything. We need to just kind of let it be what it needs to be and not try to have it look in ways that we feel it should look like. And I think with releasing and surrender, it's a really good indication that maybe the way that we thought things were going to go does not mean or reflect what it is that is going to happen in the future. By releasing and surrendering, we are allowing ourselves to be more receptive to whatever the universe is trying to happen or bring to pass, and allow things to happen the way that it's supposed to. Next to that, we have time, which I think a lot of us are just kind of maybe feeling like we're running out of time. Maybe we feel like we needed certain things to be happening at a certain time. And I think that this is almost saying like, it's all good because it's not going to happen during our timing. It happens in divine timing. And we don't really get a chance to control how these things happen. Next up, we have Mountain, another strength card. So I think that, you know, especially as someone that lives in the mountains now, I think it's such a beautiful thing, but there's also this beautiful strength that has to come with those that want to live on the mountain or even to experience the mountains. You know, it takes a lot of agility and very much a lot of personal strength to kind of say, I'm going to rise up and kind of tackle the mountain, so to speak. And I think strength is almost a reminder for you to say, the obstacle's there, you have what it takes to overcome whatever happens on your path. And so it's very much about really kind of mustering the courage to kind of confront the different aspects of ourselves that we've kind of forgotten in this way. And so I think that Mountain is almost saying like, hey, you have what it takes for you to personally get where you're trying to get. So I think finally here we have the just affirmation that's just telling you like to reevaluate your beliefs as something is holding you back. And I think with, you know, these other cards, especially having like Mountain and releasing and surrender and embracing uncertainty and time, that there are certain things that maybe you've outgrown. And so maybe it is time to release and surrender those old patterns and those old ways of thinking and kind of showing up in this energy. So overall, I think that this is just an invitation for you to understand that there are certain things that may feel like you're having to question what you believe in and what you want moving forward. And yes, there are some heartbreaks and losses, but you're ready to kind of move into this next thing. The things that have been removed or the things that have not been working are going to be where you really find your strength. And it's because it's been time for you to kind of move into not knowing how things are going to be moving forward. So reevaluate what it is that you believe in truly, because maybe you're the one that's been holding yourself back. So thank you so much for joining me, Pile 2. I hope that you enjoyed this. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Have a good one. Hello, Pile number 3. Thank you so much for joining me. I've already pulled all of the cards that I need. I'm going to apologize. There's some construction going on right outside my window. I've been waiting for it to be done, but there may be some background noise. All right, so first I'm going to talk about the actual tarot cards that I already pulled. So very first card I have is going to be the 8 of Swords. We have the Emperor reversed. We have the Child of Swords, and then we have the Elder of Swords and the Hanged One. There's been so many swords in all of these readings. I think a lot of us are very much in that overthinking, too much in the mind at the current moment. So the very first card I have is the 8 of Swords, which to me is very much a card of feeling a little bit helpless, a little bit hopeless. Things have not really been working the way that you had anticipated, but it is very much a card of kind of feeling like you're having to learn how to stand out and away from anything that has been kind of holding you back. Now, when I'm looking at the next set of cards, you know, all of these swords and having the Emperor reversed, I think of the Emperor reverse as like almost this card of like wanting to lead and also being very mindful to not dominate certain things, because it is kind of the divine masculine energy that is the rulership card of Aries. And so maybe we're feeling the sense of like, oh my gosh, I'm not seeing any progress. I need to keep pushing forward. I need to keep, you know, doing what I need to do. And since Mars has just moved into Aries, I think a lot of us are kind of getting the sense of like, finally, I can break free and do stuff. Maybe because we've been feeling so helpless, we're going to go a little too much to the other extreme of being like hyper independent to the point to where we're not really in that divine masculine energy. This is more of like I'm trying to dominate a situation. And so it can feel a little bit challenging because maybe we feel like that brusqueness or that, you know, kind of intense energy is maybe not focused on what it is that is trying to kind of happen for us at this current time. So with the Page of Swords, And I think I also got the Page of Swords last time I did one of these is, again, I think that it's very much this energy of maybe feeling like we got to get clear on what we're trying to do. Maybe we feel a little bit naive, a little bit immature, a little bit inexperienced in some ways. And so it's hard for us to really get clear on what we believe in, especially given that maybe things haven't always worked out the way that we thought they were going to. And so we're feeling a little bit scared about this next thing. And so there is this sense of like, oh my God, I just need to get clear and just like do the thing and just get out there. And then the Child of Swords is kind of saying, oh crap, I don't really know what to do next, or I don't really know how to kind of move into the next thing. And so there is a lot of this sense of maybe being too much in the head, too much in the mind, too much in that like overthinking and trying to get everything right. And underneath it, we have the Elder of Swords. So maybe there is this like sense of, I just need to be honest. I just need to be real. I just need to show up in this energy of being very clear about what I want and what I believe in. And maybe there is a sense of like really wanting to kind of step more fully into your personal truth, but it's been a little bit challenging because when I think of the Kings, yes, this king can kind of come off as a little bit like too logical, maybe a little blunt in some ways. But I think the biggest thing here is that he has learned everything that he needed to. And so he can just be very direct with what it is that he wants. And I think with all of this, it's very much saying like, are you clear on what it is that you actually want? Do you really truly know how to kind of get to that? Because swords are not just our words, they're also used as a means of us really learning how to cut away from anything that has been holding us back or anything that is no longer really working for us the way that it should. So with the Hanged Man, here we also have this invitation to kind of say, okay, like there's things that need to shift. There's some sense of suspension. There's some sense of things not really working out the way that we thought they were going to. But it's almost giving us an opportunity to change how we perceive things. It's very much about looking at what has had to be almost sacrificed, so to speak, in order for us to really move past the things that have been holding us back, especially when it comes to this kind of like energy of the Eight of Swords, and maybe even kind of looking at, oh, I have to be a specific and certain way in order for us to find, or for me to really find the success that I'm looking for. But then having this recognition that it doesn't really matter because something is going to change. The thing with the Hanged One or the Hanged Man is it's very much this energy of being a willing victim. He is usually just vibing. He's just chilling. He's not stressed about things. And I think that's the biggest kind of perspective shift that a lot of us have to look at is sometimes we think, oh, I'm going to miss out on this, or I'm not going to have enough of this. So then that obviously makes it a little bit challenging for me to look at how this is going to be fruitful or beneficial for me in the future. And I think that with a lot of these cards, they're just essentially kind of an invitation to move out of this like limited thinking in some ways. And I think with the Hanged One, it's almost saying you need to change your perspective. You need to observe things from a different perspective. You need to look at them from a different point of view. All right, let's look at the oracle cards that I got for you. We have a little bit of everything here. The very first card I want to talk about is Stillness. And this is exactly what it sounds like. Maybe this is an opportunity for you to take a step back, be a little bit more connected and still, and not be so outwardly focused on these other things. And I think the other thing is saying it's not telling you to be in your head, right? It's telling you to just be where you're at, to just kind of give yourself that space, that time to connect to yourself and get very clear on like who you are, what you want, what you need. And I think maybe that's where this kind of King of Swords and also this Hanged Man energy is kind of coming into. It's almost saying like we just have to be, again, kind of that willing victim of what is happening here. Now, we also have Trust Your Intuition. And as we can see, this is very much an invitation to really move into like just really seeing what's trying to happen here. And so maybe there is this like inclination to not always trust ourselves, especially if we've been overthinking and kind of feeling a little bit disempowered or a little bit like I'm just trying to figure it out. I think that with trusting your intuition, it's just really saying, really connect more into that. And I think that by giving yourself an opportunity to be still, you can connect a little bit more into that energy. Now, next to that, we have growth, which is a card that is just kind of telling me like, hey, right now you're on this spiral. Things are shifting, things are moving, even if it doesn't always feel that way, especially if you've been feeling like, you've done what you could. Things have not really worked out the way that you had anticipated. Maybe you're not seeing some of the progress that you thought you would be seeing by now. Growth is something that we don't always see until we have that hindsight and we have moved forward. And I think the biggest thing is that growth is not always comfortable. So if you're feeling like things are not really shifting the way that you thought they were going to, or they're not feeling very good at the current moment, is that maybe this is a high time of growth. And so it's going to feel very much like, there's things that are just not really coming together. And I think maybe with that stillness, it's also honoring that growth. Now, next to that, we have egg, which is birth. And I think of eggs as, I use them for like limpias and egg cleanses and things like that. So I feel like they're very much here to kind of help us start fresh and to kind of move into the next phase. And the thing with an egg is that it's very fragile, right? You have to be very mindful to not just like drop it, or, that the shell doesn't crack and things like that. And I think with growth, we forget that. And I think that's where it's kind of saying like right now, there's a lot of things that even if you're like, I feel very hard, I feel very closed off, you're still very fragile in a lot of ways. And there is a birth that is trying to happen here. And that may be where this kind of hanged one energy is trying to tell you like you're moving into something and it's going to change so much of like how you view and how you're growing into this next phase. So stop questioning the things that are trying to kind of start fresh in your life right now. Now, finally, we have let go of the need to be right, which is very much a King of Swords kind of energy of feeling like, my way or the highway, being very closed off to the opportunities that may be presented to you at this current time. I think if anything, it's almost saying that you've been putting a lot of pressure on yourself to have it figured out. And maybe that is kind of that emperor reverse where it's almost like, well, I thought it was going to be this way, or I thought it needed to look this way. And so it can be very challenging to kind of take a step back and kind of question, like, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right things? Maybe I didn't really know what I was doing when I kind of moved into this energy. So overall, I think a lot of this is almost saying you need to not be so caught up in your head or feeling like you have to get it right the first time. There are things that are happening that are going to require you to kind of elevate your experience, to elevate your perspective, to change how you're viewing things, and be willing to kind of sacrifice the need to be right in certain things, let go of the need to be right. There's a lot of growth that's happening here. And in that growth, it can feel very fragile, but stillness is what's going to assist you as you kind of move into things. By learning to trust your intuition, by opening yourself up to the possibility that it's okay if you don't get it right, is going to be maybe like the biggest thing that you're having to overcome and learn right now. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me, Pile 3. Have a good one. Take care. And as always, make good choices. Bye.